Welcome to My Favorite Bitch, where we talk openly about the good, the bad, and the oh my fucking god ugly of raising dogs, and sometimes other non-canine pets, including the human ones. We might talk about poop, and we might swear, so fair warning. Thanks for joining the pack. Now let's get this ball rolling. For a game of fetch, of course. Hey, everybody, welcome to My Favorite Bitch, the podcast where we share honest tales about the good, the bad, and the holy shit, what the hell did she do now, ugly, of raising dogs and pets, other pets. And sometimes we talk about humans. Today I'm going to talk about some humans. My friends, I kid you not, this is like the fourth time that I've sat down to try to record this particular episode, that being adopt or shop. I don't know why it's so hard for me to get through this. Part of it is because I have so much I really want to say about this. I take it a little personally too, so it on both sides, honestly. But yeah, today I'm going to talk about adopt or shop. And here's a spoiler. I don't give a fuck whether you adopt or shop as long as you think long and hard about the responsibility of having a pet and you find someplace reputable, because yes, there are not disreputable breeders, certainly puppy mills you want to avoid. There are also some rescue sites that are maybe some questionable and have some questionable practices too. So I don't give a fuck what you do. But here's the thing. Okay, let's talk about this concept of don't shop, adopt. This is a meme and a post topic that comes up regularly in my social media world. I do follow a lot of breeders, rescue sites, humane societies, specific breed rescue sites, trainers, expert. I follow a lot of dog shit. And I've talked it before on my reasons, my drivers for doing this podcast have to do with just misinformation and just the struggles that normal people have when it comes to raising pets. And I hate it when there's something that becomes divisive that really doesn't need to be divisive. And that in this case is this concept of if you shop, meaning you are looking for a specific purebred or designer, quote, designer breed, like a Goldendoodle. If you shop versus adopt, meaning you go to a rescue site or a humane society, that somehow you're the scum of the earth, that you're just kind of, that breeders are the demons, breeders are the devil, and the people that go to breeders and get their dogs from breeders are the devil's minion. And I want to break this down a little bit because, like many things, when people don't really think about stuff, they just have their topic, their trigger du jour, and they just blindly go in and say things and do things without really thinking about it. I want to break this down a little bit. So what happens in my social media world is on a regular basis, someone will post something. Sometimes it's I've seen it from my friends and even family, certainly on the rescue sites and in other places. There will be a post that has usually in all caps, don't shop, adopt, or adopt, don't shop. And that in itself is fairly harmless, right? Of course, rescue sites want to encourage people to adopt. And because they're overrun, they are. It's horrible. Go to just about any rescue site, humane society, SPCA in your area, and you will find that they are overrun, and it's just a chronic problem. So of course, they want to encourage people to adopt, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's basic marketing, and it's also just in most cases is well. It has noble underlyings. There are noble intentions behind this. But sometimes the post itself, or certainly the follow-up comments, come with some very judgmental and sometimes just downright mean comments about breeders and people who go to breeders, along the lines of, people that basically you should under penalty of death, you should not be able to go to a breeder and spend all this money. That if you go to a breeder and spend lots of money, because usually it's not cheap to get a purebred with papers. If you go to a breeder that somehow you're the shit of the earth and less than human, and that people that adopt are noble and wonderful beings. And we all know that there are people across the board in every category. So that's just not true. But what I really don't like is that it deflects from getting to the root cause of why there are so many animals, particularly dogs and cats, in shelters to begin with. A lot of the posts and the comments seem to imply, or maybe I infer from them, that there is blame placed upon people who go to breeders, maybe breeders themselves, for the overrun of pets in shelters. And that is simply not true. At best, you could argue that people who go to breeders could help, and I believe it's very slight help, but help the situation that already exists in shelters by adopting versus shopping. But let's be truthful. Karen and Chad, who are looking for their semi-hypoallergenic Goldendoodle, are not going to go to a shelter and get a 7-year-old pit bull mix or a mutt of unknown origins or a stray. They're looking for something very, very specific. I was looking for something very, very specific. I wanted a Labrador puppy. And I followed several Labrador rescue sites, and they just didn't have any puppies, or at least puppies that weren't mixed with something else. I wanted a purebred lab puppy because I raised one before and she was perfect, and I wanted to do it one more time. By the way, I am both a shopper and an adopter, and also an in-betweener, neither a designer shopper nor a rescuer, but an in-between. Somebody's dog's had pups. So there is this implication of people who go to breeders and by association breeders themselves, that they're the problem, but they're not the problem. Again, they may be able to slightly improve the solution. They might be a slight part of the solution, but they're not putting the dogs in the shelters. And that's what angers me. Number one is that breeders, legitimate, registered, good breeders, are being vilified, and the people that go to breeders are being vilified. And meanwhile, the root cause of the reason that shelters are so overrun is not being addressed. And that's what and like many things in politics and religion, etc., people have their triggers, and they refuse to even give in. People are very headstrong, and a lot of people that are pro and only adoption oriented folks tend to be the ones that are most vocal out there. And I know their hearts are in the right places, but just like things like, yes, I'm going to say it, abortion, where we have ways that we can reduce abortions, but the extremists don't want to talk about those ways. We actually have methods to prevent pregnancies, and we just refuse to talk about them. This is similar. Let's stop pointing the finger at breeders. Let's stop pointing the finger at people who, for whatever reason, their choice, decide to go to a breeder and get a pet, a legitimate breeder. I'm not talking about puppy mills. That's part of the problem, part of the root cause. Let's stop pointing the finger at them, and let's start addressing the issues why there are so many dogs in shelters. If you want to know why, simply go to any rescue site, and if they are honest, they will tell you in the description of the available pets where the pets came from. And what you'll see may surprise you. Certainly, there are what they call house of horror rescues or puppy mill rescues. Those are a lot of those. Big problem. Those are not legitimate breeders. Those are breeders for a variety of reasons, medical testing, whatever. Lots of reasons. Recently, this is summer of 2022, and there were a few months ago, there was a big bust on a puppy mill with beagles. So there was something like 4,000 beagles. That's a part of the problem. That is a root cause of the problem. So let's stop pointing the finger at breeders and people that go to legitimate breeders and look at root cause. Again, go to your rescue sites and you'll see puppy mills, house of horrors. But what you'll see a lot of are people wholly unprepared for pets. You have people sometimes legitimately, in fact, more often than you might think, legitimate reasons why people have to rehome their pets, and they just can't find anybody to take them, or they don't have the time, or in some cases they die, right? So people get sick, they become infirm, they get old. So you'll see a lot of that out there. People's life situation changes so drastically that they are unable to, literally unable. It's not an unwilling, it's an unable. I became homeless and I didn't know how to take care of my pet. Somebody died and nobody in the family could take care of the pet, so they were rehoming. That kind of stuff. You see a lot of that. It really surprised me when I was looking at rescue sites and reading the bios of the dogs, how many fall into this category where it's really understandable kind of stuff. Now, there are also a lot of pets in there that were given up for reasons that kind of fall into the, I'm going to be brutally honest here, folks. I'm lazy. I'm not prepared for a pet. Didn't really think about it. A pandemic puppy, Christmas puppy, or just don't put the time into it. And that happens a lot. I know of a lot of people and certainly read about a lot of people where they're rehoming pets because we just got too busy. You'll see that a lot. The family life just got too busy. Well, here's a tip for anybody out there who's looking to get a dog. Think about 5 or 6 years down the road. Right now you don't have kids, or maybe right now you've got one kid. 5 years, 6 years down the line, what happens when you have 3 kids and they're small and you have a dog? You have to think about those things before you make the commitment, because it is a commitment and it is a responsibility. So those are the reasons, the root causes of the shelters being overrun. It's not because the breeders are breeding too much and no one's buying them. It's not because all of these people who are paying $2,000 for a designer breed, if those designer breeders just went away, if it became illegal to breed purebreds, I guarantee you the shelters would still be overrun. I would bet you lunch, or maybe a couple of lunches, that would still be the case, because I don't believe that is contributing. It is not contributing to the root cause. Again, maybe a few people, if they couldn't go to a breeder, might go to a shelter and rescue, but it's folly to think that it's all our fault if we go to a breeder, that we're somehow making the problem. We're not making the problem, and we're not going to be a significant contributor to the solution. I say we. I have adopted, and I know my next dog will be an adoption, because I'm not doing a puppy again. Check out my episode on that. So what else do I have to say about this? People, another reason people don't spay and fucking neuter their pets, and their pets have puppies. You have a lot of rescues and shelters have strays with litters of puppies of unknown origin, that is people not spaying and neutering their pets, and then they just breed, and then those dogs breed, and suddenly you've got an overrun of strays and dogs in shelters. So I encourage everyone to explore all options when you're looking to get a pet. Adopt, breeders, maybe you know somebody who needs a pet rehomed. Look at all of those options, think very long and hard, but really just think long and hard about it. And I really ask those of you who are very emotionally passionate about adoption, that's great. Continue to be so, but stop pissing off the people that go to breeders, because I will tell you, it does piss us off. It makes me not want to follow your rescue site. It makes, and I have blocked, or not blocked. I have what is it you do on Facebook? You mute them, or you unfriend or unlike, whatever it is. So I have unliked a couple of places just because they don't monitor the comments, and they themselves may have put a post out that was very anti-breeder. So I'm not saying the rescue site has to advertise breeders. I'm just saying don't vilify breeders. Don't vilify people that go to breeders, because a lot of people do, and it does piss us off, and it's probably going to not make us want to come to at least your rescue site for our next adoption. So, God, I just have so much more to say about it. So, another thing that I've seen on rescue sites when this don't shop adopt controversy inevitably pops up are people who have tried to adopt but been unable to do so. Now, there are, sometimes strict regulations. They don't want to give their pets to just anybody, right? You want to make sure that the people who are adopting are responsible and going to take good care of those animals. But sometimes the paperwork and the red tape and the bureaucracy in some of these rescue sites is so bad that people can't even get through it. They don't get responses. And I get it. They're overrun and people are busy, but you got to find a way to respond to people who want to adopt. Otherwise, they're not going to adopt. It's kind of you have to make a little time to gain a little ground with the actual adoption. So, people complain. They say, well, I went to a breeder because I couldn't get through the adoption process. You wouldn't return my calls. Nobody answered the phone, or they couldn't get approved. Now, I don't know what criteria, but some of them have pretty strict criteria, and it sounded like the people maybe that didn't get approved were kind of surprised that they didn't get approved. So, there's that aspect of it. There's also a little bit of a price thing too. There's this belief that, here's these snobby people going out and paying thousands of dollars for the designer breed. But I'll tell you, some of the rescue sites that I've seen can charge up to $500 for an adoption. That's not chump change for a lot of people. I mean, I paid $250 for my first purebred lab. So, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't. I'm just saying this idea that, these, rich, snooty Karen and Chad going out and causing all the problems in the rescue sites because they're buying a Goldendoodle for $1,500 versus adopting. Well, the truth is, it's not cheap to adopt either. So, maybe there's a way that, I don't know, can we get more government funding or something like that? I don't know. Probably not. So what else? Spaying and neutering. You talked a little bit about that. Lack of education. Oh yeah, and then there's also the people that are deliberately breeding but don't know what the fuck they're doing. Just looking to make a buck, but don't really know and can't handle, and then have puppies, or because they've not spayed or neutered their sire or dam, that sire or dam contributes to bringing unwanted puppies. So maybe they have a dog that they were trying to breed and she's not spayed, and she gets loose, and guess what? Joe Schmo's Roddy down the street got her pregnant. Well, now you've got some not purebred, or maybe not what you wanted, and hence now you have an unwanted litter. So there's that goes on too. So I don't know. There's just I'm so passionate about this. Really, my underlying passion is I just don't like vilifying people, or I don't like making people out to be the enemy and being divisive when you don't need to be divisive. You can get your point across of, hey, encouraging people to adopt without making people that don't adopt or that decide to go to a breeder into fucking criminals and the scum of the earth. You don't have to do that. In fact, you can be welcoming, and you can work together on solutions for addressing the root cause of why these shelters are overrun versus alienating people that might actually really want to help. So that's all I'm saying. I know there's a lot of passion on both sides. Again, I don't give a fuck which one you do or how you get your puppy, as long as it is legal and you've thought very hard. And if you're not a legitimate, who knows what the fuck you're doing breeder, then you get your pet spayed or neutered. That's all I'm saying. So I feel like I was kind of all over the place there, but I don't know. How can we recap? Breeders are not the enemy. People who go to breeders are not the enemy. They're not causing the problem of overruns in shelters and rescue sites. The problems in rescue sites and shelters are caused by a number of things. The need to rehoming because I wasn't prepared, not spaying and neutering your pets, house of horrors, puppy mills, breeders that don't know what the fuck that they're doing and don't take good precautions so that their dogs don't get pregnant. Those are the cause of overrun rescue sites. And people that go to breeders, certainly can help. But if you alienate them, they're probably not going to be inclined to help. So there you go. There's my 60-second summary. So yeah, so there you have it. I don't know, probably just was, again, I'm all over the place, but I think that there is common ground here and we can all work together to address root cause of all these poor, loving, lovable pets that are overrun in shelters and rescues. And I certainly encourage people to adopt after they think thoroughly about if they want a pet and what it means and looking 5 years down the line. But if you decide not to, then that's okay too. And it's not going to make the situation worse. And if we work together, maybe we can make it better. So that's all I'm saying. All right, folks, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. If any of you love talking about your dog or other pet that you may have that does crazy stuff, or you just have interesting stories about, please contact me. Listen to the credits. You'll get my contact information. And because I'd love to have you on the show and do a canine convo. I've had several so far and they've been great. We just released episode 9 with Linda Balin, who is a full-time pet sitter. So there was some very interesting revelations in that show. I'll also talk to a couple other people about their dogs. But yeah, give me a ring or give me an email or a chat or reach out on social media and we'll talk about getting you in the doghouse for a canine convo. All right, folks, get out there, go play fetch, go jump in a pool, go take a nap in a warm spot, go chew on a bone or something, and have a great day. Take it easy. Thank you for joining My Favorite Bitch, where we don't hold back about what it's like to raise that little fucker of a pet. We hope you had fun. I'm your host, Beth Ann Campbell, and you can reach me on Instagram or Facebook as TheBean67, that's TheBeann 67, and also on Instagram as Moxie Blue Yule. That's my dog's site, she insisted. I'm also on LinkedIn as Beth Ann Campbell, that's Ann with an E, and check out my YouTube channel, Beth Ann Campbell, where you can find this podcast and other fun videos on the playlist My Favorite Bitch. Remember, we are not trained dog professionals in any way, so please consult the real experts and do your research on anything you hear on this program. We barely know what we're doing. Now go give your pet some snuggles, and we'll catch you after a good nap and some tasty treats. My Favorite Bitch is produced by Beth Ann Campbell and is a product of Beth Ann Campbell, LLC, all rights reserved. Go fetch, Moxie! Good girl!